Hi there, it's me, Bojinjin again, and welcome to another Bojinjin vlog. How are you guys doing? Today, I would like to speak with you guys about something, I guess you could say relevant, because, my general style of you, familiar with any of my content, is that, I tend to talk about very kind of esoteric things sometimes, as I kind of have, insights, kind of pop into my consciousness, as it were. Yeah, today I kind of going off of recent events, let's just say, and also just my own kind of thoughts as of late. I'd like to present to you an entry that, sorry, there's a bit of a hair in my glasses. A kind of an amalgamation of a few ideas I had. I was going to actually make a couple of separate vlogs, but I thought that I'd fuse them together just because, why not, right? And so today's entry is going to be about the recent US elections, right? And I'm not someone who is generally that concerned, typically about talking, about recent events and things like that. But with all of the kind of pomp and circumstance, I should say, that's surrounding the whole kind of US election and the implications that that election has on the rest of the world, I thought that it would be kind of an apt time for me to provide my input on it, right? And B, of course, this will then feed into my own thoughts as to what I think is going to happen from now on, what I think my main focus is in life going forwards, and also what perhaps is the kind of approach that we should take going into the future. Because let's just be honest, right? Let's be honest, but not exaggerative, if that's even a word. Because, there is such a thing as fear-mongering, and I am very much against fear-mongering, Not to say it's wrong inherently, it's just, you could argue that it's wrong inherently, but I just feel it's just not my style of doing things, Sometimes I am a bit of a whistleblower, I do kind of criticize certain things in society, but nevertheless. So, Donald Trump is being, well, he hasn't won yet, at the time of this recording, but it seems as though he is well positioned right now to win. The only kind of exposure I've had to this election is recently. I haven't been following the elections. I'm not really much of a political person myself, but I did have an inkling that Donald Trump is someone who represents a lot of darkness, let's just say, in the world, and so the fact that he has pulled in front, recently, is kind of, it can be a bit worrying, it can be kind of almost a stimulus to make people panic, right? And of course, I don't really have to go into the negatives of why someone like Donald Trump being elected as the US president would have a negative effect on the world and the future of the world, but instead, actually, I wanted to provide somewhat of a more kind of positive take on this whole situation. And of course, I'm not advocating that I support Trump in any way, shape or form, and any of his ideologies and philosophies on life, but in fact, quite the opposite, really, But in terms of positives, what I mean is, since Trump is being elected, right, then we could make the argument that in some way people are wanting him to become president, right? And if we go even deeper, you know, because I love going deep, of course, it's almost, well, it is a reflection of how the human consciousness, you know, in terms of our own spirituality, is being split between the side of us that has morals, essentially, the moral side of us, which is the side of us that we like to adopt. You know, you could call this like, the persona, or like the part of the ego that is deemed acceptable. And then there is, of course, the shadow, which is the side that wants something to go wrong, basically. You know, like, because if I'm honest, you know, I can't really speak for everyone, of course, like, but like, if I'm honest, like, there are times when I just want everything to fuck up, because fucking up, at least you could argue, is a step forwards from all of the kind of silent desperation, as it were, that we all suffer in like the current system. And so, you know, Donald Trump, people kind of pushing Donald Trump ahead in the US elections is a reflection of the shadow side of us wanting something to go wrong, so that there will be upheaval, so that things can progress, essentially, right? Of course, this is very subconscious, you know. Goes without saying, really, but like, you know, it's not as if we consciously want someone like Donald Trump to be president, but like, there is something nonetheless within us that wants something to just fucking explode, because it is the only way to kind of escape this suppression that we all feel, this kind of existential inertia that we all feel. And so, this being the case, you know, like, I feel that there is an opportunity for us, as always is the case when something crazy happens, something like really terrible is about to happen. It is that we can use someone like Donald Trump and everything that he represents as a way for us to unite and to push forwards towards the kind of world that we want to live in, right? Because yes, again, you know, Donald Trump being elected is symbolic of the chaos that we're about to enter. You know, again, I kind of cut myself off at the very beginning of the entry, but like, you know, I don't really have to say this at this point, but like, we're in for some rocky times, you know, in the very near future. You know, we are in for some very rocky times. You know, there is going to be there is going to be suffering, you know. Let's just say, you know, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be upheaval, there is going to be chaos, right? You know, it's unavoidable at this point in time, you know. But, like, what I'm saying here is that, you know, perhaps we can view something like the US elections as an opportunity for us to look within and be like, okay, well, I could go into the chaos, you know, and that, when handled well, is actually beneficial, you know. If we kind of, because okay, yeah, so like I was saying, you know, because the reason I say this is because the reason that Donald Trump is being elected by people is because subconsciously people want things to explode, you know, because the system right now is conducive to our continued suppression and continued kind of out of alignment with ourselves, essentially, you know. And so, like, subconsciously, spiritually, energetically, you know, it is actually a vibrational improvement, you can argue, to enter into a state of chaos, because at least that is some form of expression as opposed to being suppressed, you know. And so, with this happening, you know, it gives us an opportunity not only to look at ourselves and delve into our own shadows, you know, and our own subconscious, you know, that stuff that is there, that does exist, that we just don't want to face, right? You know, that very dark side of us that we don't want to face, that we don't want anyone to see. You know, like, not only can we shed, not only can we delve into that and begin the healing process of that, and by healing I mean accepting, really, we also have the opportunity physically to unite and be like, hey, you know what? Yes, this president is being elected. That means that the world is going, there's going to be chaos, there's going to be conflict. Let us use the opportunity to fight against what we don't want, if that makes sense. So, what exists on the other side of chaos and conflict? Of course, it is the world that we want, Once the chaos and conflict, passes, we will be left with the kind of world, or rather, a kind of baby infant world, like a kind of emerging world in its infancy that will allow for what the kind of society that we do want. And so it is time for us to be like, hey, let's get together, and let's fight Donald Trump. Right, but when I say that, I don't mean literally fight Donald Trump. I mean fight against what Donald Trump represents, right? Because this opportunity gives us, it gives us leverage so that we can all unite and be like, hey, no, like, fuck Donald Trump, but in a metaphorical sense, right? In the sense of let's group together and create the kind of world that we want. Let's create systems that do work. Right? Let's get together and talk about things that actually do matter, and not like trivia or like things that the media feeds us to make money off of us, right? Let's get together and actually design and imagine, a government that works towards our interest, Let's build and create things that are actually a reflection of our love and our desire to heal the world and to protect the world and to protect our loved ones and ourselves, instead of art that is only designed to supplicate to some mass audience, right? Now is the time for all of us, because a lot of people need a nemesis, right? Society needs a nemesis, and now that the nemesis has stepped up onto the plate, Donald Trump, right? We can then be like, okay, that's the enemy. Let's fight that enemy together and unite in the process and build a world that we do want, right? So I hope my message is clear. Use the opportunity that something like this is happening, that Donald Trump is potentially going to win the US election, as a time to be like, okay, now it's time to get together and finally do the things that we've always wanted to do, but we're scared of doing or felt that we couldn't do before, right? Now's the time to double down on your ideas, to get together and to create the things that really matter, right? And to persuade the people who are on the fence, or the people who are like kind of confused or angry or unconscious, unawakened, to get them to be like, hey, do you like Donald Trump? Because I don't, right? So like, this is what I want to do. This is the people that are behind me that we got together, and this is the kind of society we want to create, right? Do you want to join us, or do you want to leave things to Donald Trump? What do you want to do, right? So we can use this opportunity to really unite it as a species, really, and move towards positivity, resolution, and all of those things. Again, we will be amongst chaos. We will be amongst conflict. We will have to face sides of ourselves that we don't like. I myself have been facing a lot of that recently. Like just doom, the feeling of doom, like what the fuck am I going to do? Just anger and everything that I really don't want to face within myself is coming up recently. But like, it's coming up to such a degree now that like I can't ignore it, right? And I'm guessing that it might be the same for anyone out there, anyone watching this, or indeed anyone who's awakening right now. Life will take you to those dark places, But the beautiful thing is that now we have the opportunity to face those sides of ourselves and be like, and to finally be free from the suppression of that, right? And through the energetic state of release, because like, whatever happens will happen on a physical level, but like, whatever happens on a physical level, the most important thing is that we kind of allow and enter into that energetic state of, okay, it's surrender, it's release. It is just saying to life, okay, you win, let's do this, And so, that's my perspective on that. Going on from that, I also wanted to talk about, I wanted to kind of present an idea to people out there struggling, It's an idea that I myself have yet to implement, because I find this very challenging. But like, if you watch Teal Swan, this is an idea that she proposes essentially, which is that the solution moving forwards, not only from the point of view of survival, but also, the kind of healing of everything that exists that is wrong in society, right? And to move towards a more positive society is community, right? And the reason that I am presenting this in this entry is because, well, let me give you a tangible scenario, something that happened to me recently, and it's not major. It's just something that made me realize that, this is something that we need to really focus on. So, I work a job, right? And this job is, it's the kind of situation for me where, like, I'm one of the people who, like, I consider myself a hard worker, and, well, relatively speaking, I'm not perfect, but like, I work hard, and like I care about my work enough so that I want things to get done and stuff like that. But like, it's not a very large environment, and so like, at one time, unless it's, well, the thing is, typically, there's only like 3 or 4 colleagues where I work, right? And so like, there's a lot of pressure on each and every one of us, particularly if one person is not feeling well or is, upset about something, because that's realistically, that kind of stuff happens, it happens to me. So like, there's usually quite a bit of, pressure, right? And I actually need to wrap this up because I need to go. But yeah, so what happened is, like, recently, I had one of the, like, because like we're entering like the Christmas period, basically, like it's getting a bit more busy, right? And so like, we have like Christmas temps starting and stuff like that, and like, even though like I have plans to leave my work, right? Let me just put this out there, that's all I'll say, just so that you have context for the story. But like, I'm leaving my work soon. But recently, like, since more people have been coming in, like, I have actually begun to rediscover, like to kind of enjoy it more. And the reason for that is because, like, there are more people working. And no matter how dire the situation is, or like, whatever may be happening, like, when those colleagues were around me and like, the pressure was taken off of me, like, I felt secure for once. I felt as though, I felt secure, right? And this is testament to the power of community, right? And of course, how do you actually build a community? How do you actually join a community that is aligned with what you want? That has the kind of values that you want to espouse in your life. That's the challenge, isn't it? But but like, just from, I'm kind of talking a bit quickly because I need to go. I would have liked to talk about this a bit more, but like, and there was one more thing I want to talk about that now I'll have to talk about in another entry. That's to do with Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which kind of goes in more in depth in terms of how do we Well, it's a bit different. It's more about like kind of like how do we coexist with people in a healthy way, things that I've discovered recently. But like, either way, let me wrap this up real quick. Community is the way forward. So if you haven't already started, now's the time to start to think, at least think about like how to form a community. And like, of course, I actually have a few subscribers now. So like, I don't know, but this is an idea that I'm starting to have. So like, perhaps at some point I may like think about like having like a meetup or something. Of course that's very kind of provisional. Like, it's just an idea I had, or at the very least establish an environment where like we can help each other find the kinds of communities that we'll fit into. But like, in any case, community is something that we need to start to build, and like it's something that I'm starting to think about now. It's like I need to find people who can and like form something that will kind of take people in and make them feel safe, basically. Hopefully to the extent where like it doesn't even matter if it's based on interest or anything like that, because that's really important. That's the primary step. But like, eventually, hopefully we can form among us, like communities that involve people who might not have the vision, who might not have the interest, who might not have the values, but nevertheless they become part of this environment that is safe and looking to kind of catalyze societal change, let's say. So cool. I need to go now, but like, I hope this entry was insightful. I hope it was helpful as always. And my things in my life are changing right now, and it's good. So I hope the same is true for you guys. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll catch you in the next entry. Peace out, guys.